India is heading to polls. The first phase of voting is on April 19th. Millions will queue up outside polling stations, and no matter who they vote for, one thing will be the same for all: the purple ink on their fingers. It symbolizes voting here in India, and it's not just any other ink. It has something called silver nitrate. It stains the skin purple, and it takes 2 to 3 weeks to come off. So if you try washing it off immediately, good luck, because it's almost impossible to remove. This is indelible ink. It is supposed to prevent voter fraud and duplicate votes. And you know who makes this ink? A small factory in Mysuru. The company was founded in 1937. Since then, it's the only one authorized to make election ink in India. This year, the company has already shipped 2.7 million vials of ink. More will follow. The company does decent business, but in election years, it booms. They earn almost $7 million more in election years. And it's not the only business that is flourishing. Elections in India are a big deal, an expensive affair, and this year's election is tipped to be the most expensive ever. It's estimated to cost around 120 lakh crores. That's $14 billion, which also makes it the world's most expensive election. Now, around 20% of this money will be spent by the Election Commission. This is for electoral costs. What about the rest? That's for campaigning, merchandise, travel, food, and everything in between. So elections are a money churner, and tonight that's what we'll discuss. India's election economy. What does it look like? Which products sell the most? And how much money is generated? I'm Palki Sharma, and this is Between the Lines. In India, elections are like a festival of democracy. There are rallies and cultural events. Candidates go from door to door asking for votes. They want to make a mark, establish a connect, and one way to do that is through merchandise. Flags, banners, pins, badges, all printed with symbols of parties and faces of candidates. This is to increase visibility. So elections come with hordes of merchandise, usually very low cost. For example, a single badge costs around 1 rupee. That's less than a cent. A small flag costs between 5 and 20 rupees, again, way less than $1. And while the cost is low, the volumes are quite high, which means a lot of money is spent and earned. This merchandise is made all over India, but there are some hotspots like Surat in the state of Gujarat, Mathura in the north, and Hyderabad in the south. These are the merchandise hubs. On normal days, they produce clothes. But in the election season, it's flags and banners. Some of these factories produce almost 1 million flags every day. It tells you how big the market is. In 2019, merchandise sales were at a record high. This year, it's expected to be even bigger. Some traders predict a surge of 30%. It's driven by all political parties, but especially the ruling BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, and this fervor is evident online too. E-commerce platforms offer election-themed items, ranging from flags to pendants, pens, and mugs. Earlier, the demand was limited to 2 parties, the ruling BJP and the opposition Congress. But now regional parties seem to be all the rage. Demand for their merchandise is peaking. Their products are selling out, and to remain competitive, both sellers and parties are innovating. Like there are new types of merchandise. For instance, clocks, dupattas, wind chimes, even some dream catchers, all with party logos. Do you know how much money political parties spend on merchandise? Some estimates say it's close to 50 billion rupees. That's around 600 million US dollars. It gives small factories a boost. Shops earn more money and more workers get jobs. In fact, elections create as many as 10 million jobs in India, according to one estimate, and this is across industries. Take campaigning, for example. India is the world's 7th largest country, a total area of over 3.2 million square kilometers. Now, campaigning in a country this big is not easy. Sometimes candidates have to cover hundreds of kilometers in multiple cities in a single day. So they need quick transport like helicopters and chartered planes. And demand for these goes up during elections. Most candidates prefer helicopters, so much so that parties have even battled over them. So what makes them such a hot favorite? Well, they allow greater accessibility. You can reach rural areas, you can campaign in remote places, and it's also quicker. Which brings us to the cost. The hourly charge for a helicopter is 1.5 lakh rupees. That's around $2,000. Sometimes candidates also travel with an entourage. They have an entire team and a lot of ground to cover, so they choose chartered flights. The seating capacity is 10 to 15 people. And the price? 4.5 to 5 lakh rupees an hour. That's around $6,000. Of course, parties also hire other vehicles like sedans, jeeps, buses, all to ferry candidates and workers. In 2019, the Congress party spent 126 crore rupees on travel. The BJP spent over 250 crore rupees. And this year, it will be higher, by some estimates, 40% higher than 2019. Then we come to food. You have to feed the campaign workers. You also have to treat the voters. So for political parties, that's another expense. Now look at the dishes that are usually distributed. But here's the headliner, Biryani. It's said to be the best seller, and with good reason. Biryani is diverse. Every region has its own version. It's a special treat that draws voters, plus it's easy to assemble. You can make large quantities of it and distribute easily. It's fuss-free and a free treat for the voter. It is said that they come for the party, but stay for the biryani. By the way, the biryani is also political. It has triggered debates, even fights. But it continues to fuel the ballot, although not everyone can afford it. And that's because of rate cards. You see, district panels of the Election Commission set these rate cards to fix limits for election expenditure. Take Punjab's Jalandhar, for example. A candidate here can spend 15 rupees for a cup of tea. Same for a samosa. It's the maximum price limit for one person. Of course, not everyone adheres by it. But rate cards exist, and they're not limited to food. They apply to flowers as well. Because elections use millions of tons of flowers during roadshows and rallies for decorating vehicles and making garlands. Flowers play a huge role in election campaigning. So during election season, their sale increases by 20%. In wholesale markets, sales peak at around 2.5 crores every day. There's a big demand for marigold and roses. Also other niche products like oversized garlands. They start from around 3,000 rupees, going all the way up to 50,000. Imagine that, 50,000 rupees for a garland. Tells you all that you need to know about Indian elections. There's a travel boom, biryani balloting, flower power, and a lot of conversation. Everyone has their own math, a point of view, and a ready argument. And that's what makes it special. This universal participation. Like I said in the beginning, it's a festival of democracy.